GM's list of troubles is not getting any shorter with the latest round of recalls, but what about the short and long-term fallout for the U.S. car maker? Rachelle Akuffo spoke to Charlie Hughes, founder of the Brand Rules, about GM's biggest mistakes and how to resolve them.
This is a tough subject, even know where to begin. They've certainly demonstrated that they have some process issues. You can't have a problem like this go on for 13 years and not. In the initial engineering of the car in 2001, they knew they had the problem with the switch. And over the next 4 years, they kept playing around with it, but they couldn't get a cost-benefit analysis to say that they should fix it. They were buying switches from Delphi that didn't even meet their own specifications. So it just went on and on and on. They issued a service bulletin to have the dealers warn customers about having too many keys on the chain. And then finally, something I've never even heard of in the business, which I've worked in all my life, they changed the design of the part without changing the part number. That's just not heard of for all sorts of reasons, not the least of which is the notion of needing to know what parts are in which cars are recalls.
Now, being that they have handled the situation quite badly, what sort of strategies do you think they can use to regain the trust of consumers and investors?
Well, I think one of the issues here is that they had worked so hard over the past 4 years to get away from being called GM Government Motors. And they had brought out good cars. They had done a lot of things really well, and they've just sort of thrown that right under the bus. Just dissipated an incredible amount of goodwill that they had created. And it was not helped by Mary Barra's performance at Congress, in which she tried to pull a, I don't know, which we've watched everybody else in Washington do. But it doesn't work well when you're CEO of a company like General Motors in trouble, where we want to see real leadership. So I think first on the list is they've got a lot of reports coming in. They need to really bare their soul on these. They've got to come out and talk about the good, the bad, the ugly, and particularly the ugly. And Barra needs to want to get taken back to Congress so that she can stand up and show what she's done in the 2 months that she's had, to be the leader that I think that she can be. Obviously, one of the things they're doing is they're cleaning house of all potential recalls, which is a smart thing to do. They're in the doghouse now. Let's get everything on the table.
Now, while they're doing that, what are other car brands doing? Are they reaping any benefits from this?
Well, here's a funny aspect to this, which is if you look at sales for the last 5 months, this has not apparently hurt General Motors. So it's not like the Toyota case where when they really got in trouble, all of a sudden buyers started going over to other companies. GM has had some ups and downs in the marketplace, but most of those are just due to the volatility of the market.
Now, we know how it's affecting, as you were saying, consumers here. Sales aren't being affected that much. What are you seeing in terms of overseas consumers?
Well, first of all, while it's getting a lot of play in this country, the only place where it's having any impact is actually on Saturday Night Live and programs like Jon Stewart's Daily Show. So I wouldn't think they'd reach around the world. Could be wrong on that. But different markets, apparently, because I talked to a few friends at GM, have different processes. So, for instance, in China, because of the joint ventures, the whole way quality is handled is quite a bit different. And they receive excellent marks for their processes and ensuring that the cars are very safe. So my guess would be that the impact overseas will be minimal.
Now, Charlie, as we look forward, so we're looking at GM, do you think they can actually bounce back? What do their prospects look like?
I wouldn't say bounce back. I think that they can come back. They will be paying a price for this in the States for some time. The investors for sure, because they're going to end up with $2 billion of charges for the recalls. And on top of that, I think we need to look for the Justice Department to do the same thing to GM that they did to Toyota, a $1.2 billion fine in the case of Toyota. But I think if they keep working on the trust angle, they keep working on their culture, and probably the best thing they can do is just keep building must-have cars. They've done a good job of that over the last few years. New Corvette is a world-class, stunning vehicle. I think that's where their hope lies.